In this video, we will take a look at the investigation tool. This powerful tool included in Advanced DPDR enables you to take an in-depth look at telemetry gathered by the endpoint agent. This wealth of information lets you go beyond an individual detection to understand much more about what is happening across your endpoints. Using this tool, you can see just about anything that happens on a system, like processes launching, network connections, commands and scripts executing, and more. To access the investigation tool, I can find the endpoint I want to explore in the computers list and select the investigation tab, which will display the most recent telemetry. I can also find the investigation tab in indicators of attack, which will display the telemetry around the time of the indicator. In the advanced indicators of attack video, we saw this indicator for a user account being deleted, and we're left with some unanswered questions. Who was the user that ran this command on the system? Was this a legitimate action, or did a malicious actor do this? What else happened on the system? After opening the investigation tab, we are presented with lots of rows of data. Let's scroll down and go over what we see. On the left are the filters, where I can narrow things down by changing the time range, searching for specific keywords, and filter for specific tactics and techniques. At the top are four important categories. Detections are the events tied to a detection that appeared in the security dashboard, like malware being found. User notifications record the messages that users see in their computer when the agent takes action. Remediation ops record the actions the agent is taking behind the scenes on the computer to remediate a threat and are usually tied to a detection. And indicators are the events tied to an indicator of attack, although note that you will not usually see the advanced indicators show up here. So it looks like there's been quite a few things happening on this computer. When you are starting an investigation, these categories are your jumping off point to locate meaningful events, and then you can start to explore the telemetry around the events to find more information about what is happening on the computer at the time of the incident. On the right, I also have options to change the columns to enable, disable, or reorder them. This can be useful to elevate certain information that may not be visible by default or may otherwise require me to scroll back and forth to find it. I will move logged user to a higher spot so I can easily track the user related to these events. Keep in mind any changes you make to the columns here will only remain while this window is open. If you close and later reopen the investigation tool, it will revert to the default display settings. There are also additional filter options here, which enable you to search on specific details for each column for more fine-grained results. This is great if you need to search for multiple things at once. So let's take a look at the telemetry for the indicator of attack that I want to investigate. When I opened the investigation tab for this indicator of attack, it automatically highlighted an entry in the list related to the indicator, and I can click on it to display some more information on the right. I can see that this event was a script launch and that the parent program was CMD and the child program was BAT, meaning the command prompt launched this batch file. On the command line entry, I can see the command that was entered into the command prompt to execute this script, which lets me see where the script was located on the file system as well. Looking at the logged user column, I can already answer my first question. The user that ran this script was the local user student. Earlier in the indicator of attack, we saw that the net program was being used to delete the user account. So I want to use the search to narrow down the list and focus on net.exe. Now I can see multiple create process events related to the net and command programs. I can also look at the timestamps and I see all of these events happened very quickly together, which is another hint that a script or automation of some kind was in play. Let's click into the first entry and we can see that CMD is the parent process and is launching the child process net. Many times a parent program will launch another program as a child to do something specific, like running a program inside a command prompt. Under command line, we can see the specific command that was executed, in this case to create a new user hacker using net. I will click through the next few events to follow what happened. Next, we see net as the parent launching another copy of itself as net1 to complete the action of creating the user. After that, we see net was run again to check the users on the computer. And once again, net1 runs to finish the command. Then we see net being used to delete the user that was just created. This triggered the IOA event that generated the indicator of attack. You can see the same details that we saw earlier in the indicator. Finally, net1 runs again to complete the action. So this gives us a good idea of what happened in that command prompt when the batch file executed. But I want to learn more about where this batch file came from, so I will start to backtrack to uncover more details. When I scroll to the bottom of this entry, I can find the MD5 hash of the parent program, in this case command. I'll copy and search for this. Now I can see a lot of additional events are being found. It looks like this user has been busy running scripts on the computer, which have been causing some remediation actions as well. Starting at the first event we saw earlier, I looked through the events that happened just before it to see if I can find some more information about where this script came from. Here we can see the parent process is something called the Zero Trust Auditor, and it ran the command prompt and executed the batch script delete user account. This appears to be the source of all of those commands that we just looked at. I want to learn more about this Zero Trust Auditor program so I can again find its hash at the bottom and search for it. It looks like it's been doing quite a lot, causing numerous remediation events and user notifications. I can click through a few of these to see the actions that have been taken by the endpoint agent and the messages that the user has seen. I can see references to some scripts called Ransomware Simulator, as well as detections for Mimikatz, which is a hacking tool, all pointing back to this Zero Trust Auditor program. At this point, I also want to investigate anything else this user has been doing on this system, so I will search for the user student. At the top, I can see their login and can follow the user as they took actions in the computer. It looks like they logged in remotely to this computer with RDP from the private IP address 10.7.7.53. So starting with an indicator of attack for a deleted user, I have uncovered which user and program was responsible for this action and can track everything that the user was attempting to do on this system. I have seen evidence of ransomware activity and hacking tools being used. So I would want to lock down this user student on the computer here and anywhere else these credentials are being used in my network, as this account appears to be compromised. I would also want to follow up on the RDP connection we saw from 10.7.7.53, as this may be another compromised computer on my network that the attacker is using. I would isolate that computer and then perform an investigation on it as well. It looks like many of the actions that were taken are related to the Zero Trust Auditor program, which certainly appears to be malicious based on what I am seeing here. Beyond what we have seen so far, I have some additional options to track this by right-clicking on an event related to this program and searching for computers with the parent file. The second entry here is the computer I was just looking at, but I can see there is another computer in my environment that has seen the Zero Trust Auditor as well, and I can select it to observe the events that it has spawned. This is another computer I would isolate and investigate. Another tool I can use to look at this program more closely is the process tree. The easiest way to access this is to right-click on an event related to the program I want to research, then select Graphs, then Process Tree, then OK. After a short time, the graph will display in a new tab, and it shows a graphical representation of the links between this program, the actions it has been taking on the computer, and other programs it has been using. And I can click on these entries to see more details. From here, since I have seen this program on multiple computers, I might want to go ahead and block this program using the advanced security policies or program blocking settings. I might also try to get a copy of the program for more analysis and to do some research on it to understand more about it. In this case, the Zero Trust Auditor is actually a WatchGuard program that enables you to run tests against our endpoint security for common exploits and vulnerabilities. If you want to get a copy of this for yourself, please reach out to your WatchGuard sales rep for more information. In the investigation tool, I can also open more tabs across the top, which lets me open more graphs, open another computer if I want to investigate multiple computers at once, and I can also open an advanced SQL query. On the left, you can see the tables and all of the variables associated with them. I will go ahead and enter a basic query that displays the child programs and timestamps associated with the process ID of the Zero Trust Auditor, which I grabbed from an event. So this shows me all of the programs associated with it in a similar way to the process tree we looked at earlier. But this is just a basic example, and you can run complex SQL queries here against the telemetry from any of the endpoints in your network, enabling you to search for events across all of them in one place. But this is beyond the scope of this video. To recap, we learned more about the investigation tool in advanced EPDR. We saw how you can open the investigation tool from the computer details and from indicators of attack. We looked at how you can customize the view in the investigation tool to filter and search for specific events. And we explored how the investigation tool enables you to go beyond individual detections to track activity and telemetry across all of the computers in your environment, providing a clear picture of what is happening.